Chris Watkin here with the broker of brokers, very well known person in the London property market and also money markets. Broker, we are in September 2020. Where do you see the London property market? And you can talk about anything you like, residential, commercial, industrial. Talk to me.
Well, let's take it specifically. Let's go straight for the heart of central London. What's going on in central London? And obviously, we've done a lot of research before this interview to make sure that you're getting the facts. And the facts are this: it's mainly foreign money.
Hasn't it been since 2008?
Very much so. But even more so now. You're seeing a lot of the Hong Kong money hitting it. You're seeing Europeans. You're still seeing the Middle East. And they're buying without seeing anything. They know certain areas and they're buying. Their criteria has changed somewhat though, but they are the ones that are in prime central London, Mayfair, Knightsbridge.
Why is so much of the world's rich people buying in London, even with the sword of Damocles of Brexit and other things hanging over our shoulders?
Because it's a mega city. London is a mega city. After a number, I think it's 10, 15, 20 million, whatever it is, probably 10, it becomes a mega city. It's also the major financial player. It's moved down to number 2. New York has overtaken London, unfortunately, but I think we can take them on again. It's a blue chip market. But interestingly, New York has come down. San Francisco, another prime market in the States, has come down. London hasn't. London prices are going up. As we said, it's been a record August, highest ever.
Okay, but so are all these Hong Kong people and Middle East sheikhs buying in New York as well, or they just
They like London. Obviously, there's restrictions for them in America at the moment. China, there's some problems with the trade there with America and China. Again, they're not allowed to visit, so that puts them off when you're not allowed to visit. Harrods, for example, have said we're only going to look at profits from June 2021, a year of nothing. The leisure industry, hospitality, has lost $1 trillion by the end of this year. So the numbers are unbelievable from what the virus has done. But it's also this element of, encouraging. So, for example, in New York, if you buy a cooperative, they choose. So Madonna tried to buy over there, Abramovich tried to buy in New York, and they said, sorry, no. But here, we don't say the word no. It's, who's the highest bidder? We're traders, we're deal makers.
But if Britain was so good, I mean, if you actually look, our currency seems to have devalued over the last 10 or 15 years. I mean...
Well, that makes it even more attractive for them.
But should we be worried about that?
Well, there's always, ups and downs.
It has been slowly on the slide.
Absolutely. If something's too much of an extreme, it's a problem. So too much debt is a problem. Too much inflation, deflation, all these terminologies are a problem because you want to have growth. But in inflation, you do get growth. So it's got a positive ramification to it.
But coming back, do you think... I want to understand, because it's a huge driver of the London property market is prime, because it almost pushes itself out.
Yeah.
Even if, let's say, the worst case scenario and we don't get a deal with Brexit, could you consider that it'll just still be attractive to people?
No deal is considered by the market to be a problem. I don't think it's a problem long term, but the perception is short term, that's a problem. If we go back to furlough, or there's a problem again with the virus, if we don't get a solution to this, an antidote, that's also considered a problem. So those are the factors that will affect. At the moment, the property market has resisted that. The people that have been affected on the negative side are the ones that first-time buyers. They can't get in. It's got worse for them. So there were a lot of deals that were put on before the virus, after Brexit, that when things came back and everyone went back to work, the deals fell through. And even worse in the rental market. What's happened in the rental market in central London is 15, 20, 25, even 30% in some situations drop because people are not here.
But again,
Tenants.
but when we're dealing with £10,000 a week, which is stupid money compared to the normal market, it's going to be like that, isn't it? I mean, let's move out. What about normal London?
Are you talking about that? Well,
Outside prime, your zone twos, your zone threes.
doing well as well. The criteria of location has changed. So before it was a case of, right, let's have a box in Shoreditch and we don't care what it costs. It could be a studio, £1 million, crazy figures potentially, but there's no such thing as crazy. It's what people are prepared to
I
spend.
mean, I'm amazed that people will pay £1.5 million for a 3-bedroom terraced house, whilst we are literally, well, not literally, we are 59 minutes from King's Cross in Grantham, and that same house is £110,000.
Yeah, but the rent isn't the same. So if you rent the place here, it's peanuts as opposed to central
I'm
London
not
where
talking
you'll
about for an
see.
investment, but what
But everything's an investment.
okay,
The people that park their money, to answer your original question,
well, that was prime.
let's deal with that. People that park their money, they're not landlords. What they are, they're buying. So a new development comes up, they buy the penthouse. It's empty. They're not interested in a tenant, but they just have it as an asset that sits there, and over time it's going up in price long term, and then they have the option what to do.
So do you think, let's just say there is a no deal Brexit, are all these people going to pull out of their penthouses, or are they just going to say, well, it's just going to take a bit longer? Well,
No, they'll stick with those because they don't care about Brexit or not. The issue for Brexit is the layer below them a little bit, where they're still successful, but the perception again of this country short term. I mean, no one knows.
but there could be some deals there, couldn't there, though?
Well, there's already deals with Hong Kong. There's already a deal going to try and get 3 million of them over here, with the golden passports and things like that you had in Portugal. Portugal has done very well recently. Spain picking up again. A lot of English buyers over there. A lot of the wealthier UK people have moved away from central London. As I said, it's back to the foreign investors. But the first-time buyers and the ones below are struggling to get their mortgages through. Big problem. And if you don't get the mortgages through and do the transaction, that's not affected in the price, and the prices are going up.
Interestingly, talking to mortgage arrangers at the moment, what they're saying is that you really do need a 10 or 15% deposit. Do you think the government should be doing anything to help?
They are. They've done a lot of. They've already assisted a lot of people to get them in the market. They've tried, and they are doing that right to buys and all these things. So they are doing things to help. But it's also land banks. I mean, it's in everyone's interest long term that prices go up, not go down, because there's now no such thing as a domestic property. If you go back 20, 30 years and you go to the village here or the town here or anywhere in London and say, tell me, sir, madam, how much is your property worth? They really may not know precisely, but now with Rightmove, Zoopla, all of these on the market, they know precisely, pretty much, what their property's worth. So guess what? It's now investment only. So everyone that walks in to an estate agency or on whatever they are investors, because even the tenants will potentially later be buyers themselves.
Thank you for your time today, broker.
Welcome.